corporate marketing, they have a product to sell, a product or service that they're selling, that they're providing. So whenever you're marketing something to somebody, they're going to pay you and they're going to get something back in return, something physical back in return, right? As a nonprofit marketer, I'm trying to sell or brand like an idea or a feeling, right? Because whenever you donate to a nonprofit, unless you're getting like a little trinket or a notebook or something back for your donation, you're not really getting anything tangible back.
Hello and welcome back to the Pre-Pro Podcast by SPLYCEHOUSE. I'm Bill Parmentier of Old Storm Studios. Today I have, as always, Jake Huber of SPLYCEHOUSE.
Hey guys.
And also today on the show, our special guest, Kevin Lashley. He is the Marketing and Communication Manager at the nonprofit St. Patrick's Center here in St. Louis. Kevin, welcome to Pre-Pro Podcast.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
It's good to be on this side of a podcast, by the way. Having my own podcast and being the host. It's good
we didn't talk about that. Bill doesn't even know that you've been running a podcast all year for the St. Patrick's Center.
For St. Patrick's Center.
I don't even know what a podcast is. Jake just makes me do this like every couple of weeks.
I just know we have billions of people watching. I don't even know.
It's incredible. I don't know how this works.
I don't even know how this came to fruition.
Wow, science.
So I started a podcast. Jake talked to me about long form to short form content. So my long form is a podcast, and my short form is social media and other avenues. So
Right on. What do you talk about in your podcast?
So we talk about St. Patrick's Center, our clients, who we serve, and also our partners. So we try to educate the public on, the fact that we're more than a soup kitchen. So the podcast is called More Than a Soup Kitchen. And we talk about the different programs that we provide to our clients. We have the client come in. I'm really big in, person first experiences and allowing our clients to speak for themselves. We have them on, we do interviews, and it's always a great time. I mean, getting to hear the inspirational stories of how our clients have come out of homelessness and are addressing their issues head on and doing better for themselves. So
yeah, totally. I mean, do you feel like it's making an impact, like with either donors or your clients, like people hearing about it and coming to you guys?
Oh, absolutely. We have people all the time that are like, man, I had no idea St. Patrick's Center did, I had no idea you guys offer workforce development classes, or that you guys offer PT, or, all these other services that we offer to our clients. A lot of people don't know. And so, that may spark an interest in them to come and volunteer in an area, that maybe they don't necessarily want to serve lunch, but maybe they want to come and help with their talents in our workforce development program. Maybe they're really good at resume building, or they have jobs themselves, or PT. Maybe they want to volunteer some hours of physical therapy or occupational therapy or whatever. Yeah, we always have people that are like, if I would have known that, I would have volunteered a long time ago. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so like having all these avenues like a podcast, it actually works. Like it actually works getting the word out there and getting people to come help or volunteer or donate or whatever it might be.
Absolutely. And the podcast is just the beginning. So from there, we're able to create multiple channels. Like I said, we share all that stuff on our social media, just like with this podcast. And so we also have a magazine that we grew from it. So
nice.
we transcribe all the stories and we put them in our magazine and share them in that form. You never know how people are gonna, how they consume content. So we want to make sure that we're everywhere people are at, and we're all over content. So.
Do you think it's important to also give these people a voice, because otherwise they're maybe not heard? And I think it's really interesting, Milano's story. It's like that was, I think, your first episode. Very interesting to have the perspective of somebody who's been homeless get up there and talk about what it's like to actually be homeless. And there was a lot of things I learned, for instance, that, some people still have jobs and they're homeless. And you think of, they're just in a tent and they're just out there lingering around. So what do you think about that? Is that part of it too, to give them a voice?
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about marketing, a lot of times, you can be selling a product and have just a talking head selling this product. But when you actually have someone who uses the product selling it, it goes a lot further. Whenever you actually hear a review from a real customer, it's the same thing at St. Patrick's Center. We have clients that have went through our programs, have went through our therapies, went through our housing solutions, and are now in a much better place getting them to come in and tell their story themselves, as opposed to just having me write up, a quick little, blog about it, just goes much further. Like I said before, actually hearing the client tell you their story and hearing that emotion behind their story and in their voice just goes much further than having a third party tell that same story. And so, like, for instance, you mentioned Milano. He's just so raw. There are things, that he told in his story in the podcast that I wouldn't have mentioned, but since it came from him, and telling the nitty gritty of his addiction and just taking ownership for a lot of the things, it just hits way harder than if I were to say, he was addicted to drugs. He goes in depth about what got him addicted, what that did to his life, the support he didn't have, and then goes into the successes. So yeah, I mean, having our clients tell the stories, it's night and day difference whenever that relates to our I guess the consumer of that story, our supporters. They love it. They love hearing those stories.
I mean, it's sort of like any other sort of marketing testimonial. Somebody says, "Oh, this product works great for me. You should try it too." And like it's your actual clients who are maybe coming off the streets, and they turn it around thanks to help from St. Patrick's Center. And so it's a success story, right?
Absolutely. A lot of our clients too are our mentors. So, they go through the system, they have, it's proven to work for them. They'll come back and help lead other people. It's kind of like that 12-step, the 12-step of the 12-step program is to share your experience and to bring other people into the program. So it's the same thing they're doing. They always say, hey, listen, if you're in the same situation that I've been in, you shouldn't be embarrassed. Just come to St. Patrick's Center and get help. I mean, those people, like I said, once again, it goes to the point of me telling people to come and get help, or someone that was in your same exact situation that knows how you actually feel and what you're going through, telling you to come and get help. It's just, totally different. So yeah, I think we can't do. Whenever I started, and my marketing strategy going forward from whenever I started has been all about getting our clients out there and sharing their stories. And we don't make our clients share their stories. They come to us and they want to give back to us because of what we were able to help them with and how we were able to give to them. Right. They give back to us through sharing their testimonies.
Right. And it's effective.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So we've been talking about how you're a nonprofit marketer. How is that different, or is it very much different at all from just traditional commercial marketing?
Yeah, there's a huge difference between nonprofit marketing and corporate marketing. And so actually, before I get into that, I actually do have this slogan of reimagining nonprofit marketing. And what I mean by that is actually trying to bridge the gap between corporate and nonprofit. So the difference is, corporate marketing, they have a product to sell, a product or service that they're selling, that they're providing. So whenever you're marketing something to somebody, they're going to pay you and they're going to get something back in return, something physical back in return, right? As a nonprofit marketer, I'm trying to sell or brand like an idea or a feeling, right? Because whenever you donate to a nonprofit, unless you're getting like a little trinket or a notebook or something back for your donation, you're not really getting anything tangible back, right? You're donating your money and you're really just receiving a feeling. So as a nonprofit marketer, my goal is to show folks that through testimonials and showing our brand and what our mission is, showing folks that your donation and your support, your volunteerism, whatever that may be, you are going to be helping out this organization and helping us grow our mission and further our mission by helping other people. So you're going to be receiving a feeling of doing good for the community or doing good for your fellow man, your neighbor, as opposed to receiving something tangible. So that's the biggest difference between corporate marketing and nonprofit marketing. So yeah, the funds are also a big difference. We don't have those, $100,000 video production budgets for commercials and things like that. And I'm a one-man band, pretty much at St. Patrick's Center. I have an amazing coworker who does a lot of my copy, and she does great graphic design work for our social media and other digital platforms. Her name is Brenna. Shout out. But other than that, it's kind of like you're running the show on your own, and So a lot of nonprofits do not have the support that I have at St. Patrick's Center. My team, the people I work with on my philanthropy team are amazing, and the systems that are in place at St. Patrick's Center really help me do my job and do it very efficiently. But if you go and talk to probably 95% of the other marketers in nonprofit spaces, they do not have the same resources. So they're not putting out the same quality content as corporate marketers are. You know what I mean? So we're trying to tell stories and build brands on a very shoestring budget, and it's hard. And so you have to get creative or not. And a lot of nonprofits choose to not get creative. And so that's what I always talk about, reimagining nonprofit communication. And so I take this, and Jake, honestly, anybody I talk to, Jake is the person I credit this with, because we'll go on the golf course and talk for 18 holes about marketing and branding. And so learning how to build that long form content and turn it into short form content, and just being creative with podcasting. And so I don't really listen a lot to Gary Vee, but I get all of his notes, the clip notes from Jake. Anytime something like great comes up, he always shares it with me. So it's
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Gary Vaynerchuk. I use the Gary Vaynerchuk method in its abbreviated form. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah,
but that's corporate. Nonprofits aren't doing that. They're not thinking that way.
Well, let's talk about that, because we come from the world of video production. So like, to be able to do some of the stuff at the scale that needs to be done costs a lot of money. What do you do as a nonprofit? And St. Patrick's is supporting you maybe more than others, but do you have to like,
you got to.
Do you have to pick up an iPhone and start shooting? I mean, you have to like get in there.
You were talking about how like some nonprofits don't get very creative, but I think like with the budgets that you're working with, like you have to be extra creative.
Yeah.
To get your message across in the formats that you need it to be.
Absolutely. So one thing that and Jake will tell me this didn't happen, but he literally told me, dude, you have an iPhone. This is like going to put us out of business one day. Like the quality of these cameras.
I don't think I said that.
He said that. He's nervous.
You said it to me about 40 times.
So iPhone is getting good.
It's getting good. Mm-hmm. So he was just like, pick up your camera, pick up your phone, and get on the street and start doing some, just start interviewing folks. Get a nice little cheap microphone or whatever, mic yourself up and start doing interviews. And although I haven't done that at St. Patrick's Center, that was just kind of a spark, for me, and him just telling me like, use your resources, use what you have, get creative, and find ways to create content, that are efficient, because it is just me creating the content that are efficient, and also that are going to be able to be used on multiple platforms. So I can use my content for my podcast, or I can use the same content for social media or our emails or whatever. So, to kind of go back to, to what you're asking, Jake, even though we all don't have that extensive budget to do $100,000 video projects, even if we're spending $5,000 on a gala video, we have the opportunity to get as creative as possible. It doesn't have to be a talking head the whole time. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit down and just do a talking head interview with 3 different camera angles.
Right.
Go out, find a client that is willing to get on the street. We did this with a Milano video. We went onto the street. We went to the exact same place where he was homeless for several months during the pandemic. And we got, we shot video there. We did B-roll. We did interviews on that location. And then we changed locations. He's a minister. We went to his church and we shot B-roll at his church. And that's what I'm talking about, reimagining. Like, it's just not all about sitting at your nonprofit with 3 cameras and just keep flipping the angles while you're talking to the same person. You know what I mean? Step outside the box and get creative.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much you can do now with so little.
Yeah.
Honestly, like on like a nonprofit scale, like in a way, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I feel like there's less holding you back from just saying like, screw it. We're just going to go do a bunch of crazy shots. And like we're not beholden to some huge corporation that is like pinching our pennies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're not answering to this huge client who wants to scrutinize every little thing you're doing. Like, do you feel like at the scale that you're working that it, in a strange way, like it does allow you some freedom to kind of do like, no, let's do something different. Do you feel that way? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the impression that I get sometimes.
At St. Patrick's Center, absolutely. And you know, that's my experience. At St. Patrick's Center, I was at a nonprofit before where I feel like I did have the same bit of creativity and flexibility there as well. But I do have pretty good autonomy at St. Patrick's Center. And you know, I'll run things by my boss, and she has that marketing mind as well, coming from a marketing background. And also just having proven what I'm able to do over the last, you know, year and a couple months. At this point, if I have an idea, it's like, okay, he's 100, you know, he's 10 out of 10 so far.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to run with it. And obviously it has to be feasible. It has to, you know, make sense and be within the mission. And also, you know, with the Catholic Charities, has to fit within the values as well. But yeah, I'm able to just go and come up with a crazy idea as long as I'm able to direct it towards what our mission is. I have more, you know, creativity and flexibility. When I got hired, actually, when I was interviewing at St. Patrick's Center, I mentioned, hey, St. Patrick's Center should have a podcast, and and the CEO should run it. And so when I started, or actually in that interview, my boss was like, "Oh, that'd be great." You know, when I started, I brought it up again, but then sat on it for like 6 months, and then I was in an interview, and I was meeting with an account rep from KMOV about doing some end of the year advertising, and she goes, "Man, you guys are more than a soup kitchen," and it just dawned on me. I was like, "Okay."
And there it was.
There it was.
Boom.
We're doing a podcast. And it's going to be called More Than a Soup Kitchen. And I went to my boss and she goes, "Hey, I said that to you like, you know, 5 months ago when you started." And I'm like, "I know you did." And so that I just needed this one, you know, this one other, this cosign, you know, from a colleague, and we ran with it. We started the podcast like a month and a half later, and you just took off running. And once again, resources, you know, you can do a podcast with Zoom, and, you know, you can do a podcast with 3 Shure mics and, you know, 3 cameras, whatever, you know,
Right.
You can do a podcast. There's no excuse.
I think that's great, because when we were originally talking about doing a podcast, we didn't have these mics.
Yeah.
And I have the Rode Wireless Go, and I
Yeah.
was like, dude, do we just start with that? And it's not going to sound as good, and we're just going to clip it on, and it is what it is. But it's like the content.
It's all about the content.
And if you can build up to having these nice things and building the scale, that's great. But, you know, getting the message out there, like you said, is just getting started.
It's all about getting started. Use the resources you have, and it's the content. The content's going to speak volumes. And I always say record everything. You know, record everything or take photos, and that'll just, so you can have that for multiple channels. So it's funny. We got the podcast on all streaming platforms, on our website, YouTube, and then we have it on social, you know, we put it on social media. So if you have social media, you know about our podcast.
Right.
From a marketing, I kind of want to jump in here from a marketing perspective. Is there a way you guys are, you know, actually checking, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like
Analytics.
Yeah. The analytics behind all the marketing campaigns, whether it's the podcast, whether it's the video you do for the gala. How do you guys actually figure out if it's working?
Yeah.
And do you get pushback from up, like, hey, you guys, we need to change this? I mean, what does that look like from your side of things?
So that's a very good question. As far as analytics, we track our social media analytics. We don't really track too much of the podcast analytics. And one reason why that is because you can get very discouraged with podcast analytics. Podcasts are very hard to scale. They're very hard to grow.
I wouldn't know that. We've
We
had
went from
already
0 to a billion.
we've had
Yeah.
meteoric success since the beginning. And I just want to put that out there.
Yeah. So I'm not talking about this podcast. I'm talking about
So,
every other podcast.
this is very
besides
unfamiliar
you
to
and
me,
Joe
Kevin.
Rogan. You and Joe Rogan have.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Don't lump me in there. I don't know about
Bill's
that
trying
one.
to get that $100 million paycheck.
Spotify's coming soon. So as far as the analytics, we check them on social, not so much on the actual podcast platform. We use Buzzsprout. I know you guys use a way cooler one, but Buzzsprout works for us
For the podcast?
for the podcast.
Anchor.fm.
Anchor.fm.
I don't know.
We're gonna
That's the
cut
only
that.
one I've used.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna
I-
cut that. So unless they start paying for advertising.
Yeah. Hey, Anchor.fm, if you would like to sponsor us.
With our 1 billion followers, they're gonna want to see the receipts on that.
I swear there's a billion.
Yeah.
Don't look at it. Just trust me.
no.
Trust
Just
me on
trust.
this one.
Yeah. So okay, but anyway, yeah. So we do track social. Now, the best way for us to track the return on investment, I would say, is the fact that we're able to use, you know, we're able to go into a studio, get this interview, and literally use this interview on every single one of our platforms. So we do a Milano interview. We obviously Milano was a huge success because we raised over, hundreds of thousands of dollars at a gala, using his video because we did a gala video. And so
Just off his video?
We use it as it was a
Kind of the
it was like a raise a paddle before the raise a paddle video. So awesome. it's what nonprofits do. It's weird. No, I'm kidding. It's great. So I'm able to put that blog. I'm able to transcribe it and put the blog on the website. Now, when I put that blog on the website, it helps with SEO, and it also drives traffic to our website. And so I'm able to track that, and we have great traffic to our website. So going now to social media, which drives the traffic to our website, I post that blog, or I'll post a clip to Instagram. And so I do video clips on Instagram, and I do stills with captions on Facebook because our stills do a little bit better on Facebook. And now I direct that to our website. So that helps us it helps us with lead generation. So now I'm using the same story that we recorded in studio for lead generation. I'm using it for maybe if we're doing a fundraiser, I can use it for graphics. For if we're sending thank yous to donors, we have the pool quotes. That's one of the biggest things is getting pool quotes for graphics and things like that. And we get a lot of those through our interviews on the podcast. And then the magazine. So this magazine we do 3 times a year. We send magazines out to our donors. Or some kind of written publication out to our donors to give them an update on what's going on at the St. Patrick's Center.
Newslettery type
Newsletters, exactly.
Yeah.
And so whenever I started, I was like, we were going into the annual report season. So I was like, let's do an annual report magazine style. And we did that. And we're like, let's just keep it going. So now we send 3 times a year, we send out a magazine to our donors and then 1 annual report, all magazine styles. So we have all these stories, that we have in these publications that are just amazing. And it's just another way that it's free. It's just a way for us to steward our donors. But it's just another way for us to use that content. So whenever we're looking at, someone says, okay, is it really worth it for you guys to go in? I think we spend maybe $2,000 and we get, and another thing is too, we might spend $2,000 on a day's shoot, but we're getting like 4 or 5 different clients in. So we're maximizing our shoot time by batching episodes. So if we don't get 4 or 5 people into the studio, then we'll just, scrap it and move on to a different day. But we're normally pretty good filling that up. So whenever someone says, hey, are you guys, being good stewards of St. Patrick's Center money, we can absolutely tell them yes, because this one shoot is feeding us for, it could be a whole year. I've already got 3 clients that I've interviewed that are going to be great candidates for our gala videos. So whether that's next year we shoot them in a gala video, or we can shoot the gala video, 3 of them next year and just save them, it's all about maximizing the content.
That also helps you probably tell that story better because you hear it in the podcast and you're talking to them. So now you're like, this is a great story. Mm-hmm. And you might not have gone that deep or had that many people that it's like, because that's a big part of the story. We can tell from our video production side of things, we can tell stories, but a lot of that is predicated on how good the subject matter is.
Yeah.
And you can pick that out through this podcast. So that's another selling point right there.
Oh, absolutely. And so just to go into like the old ways, because like I said, I'm reimagining, right? I'm just amazing like mind in nonprofit marketing. Not really.
Sound
but
like a marketing guy.
Right. The next Gary Vee. But the way it used to be done and the way that it probably still is, either you have a questionnaire, you can send a questionnaire out to your clients. Fill out these 20 questions, and now I'm just going to create an article based off these 20 questions. Or I can just go sit down with the client in a room and ask either the client or the case manager even and say, hey, tell me about this client's experience.
And neither of those you're coming out with any content.
And neither of those I'm coming out with any substance.
Substance, yeah.
There's no substance.
Right.
So I can now get you into a room where you're comfortable, and let's just start from the very beginning. I always start, tell me about your upbringing. I want to break you down to where you feel comfortable enough to tell me about your family, your childhood. Right. And a lot of times our clients have amazing childhoods. I don't think I've met with a client that has had a rough childhood as far as like being, maybe being a foster kid or being abused by their parents or something like that. Something that you may think that people would set somebody on a wrong path. I have not ran into that client one time, and I've done probably 30 interviews.
Really?
Dead serious.
That's not what
I have not ran into one client that has had a rough childhood. I've had a couple clients that have had kids, in their teens, but their families were still there to support them. And so a lot of it happens through, the adult years where, a lot of the struggles happen throughout the adult years, whether that's domestic violence or, we have some folks that have been to the military, that struggle of coming back home and trying to enter society, or even, the financial crash. We actually have a staff member who went through the crash in 2008, lost his job, got the golden parachute, and decided, I don't want to go back into this, corporate America world. I'd rather go work for St. Patrick's Center, a place that's actually doing good. So there's all kinds of reasons, but I start at the very beginning. I want to know what you did, how you grew up, what was your foundation. And so I think that's really cool because that creates substance. It creates a relaxed environment. And so now we talk for about an hour, and instead of, talking for maybe 15 minutes in a little office space where we're just sitting across and don't have a notepad, we just sat here in front of a couple cameras and, just really, you were able to tell me every single detail about your life. And I don't even ask direct questions. I have like very broad questions, and I might talk for 5 minutes and the client talks for, the 55 other minutes. Yeah. And I just love it. They love talking.
Sounds familiar.
Sorry, guys. I love to talk. That was my earlier life, actually, was talking.
Well, I think you mentioned earlier that, about the vets who, you mentioned earlier about your clients who, have like surprising childhoods or surprising backgrounds. Like, I mean, this goes to show you like how little people like, Jake and I know about the clientele that you deal with. And so like what you're doing as a marketer is not just bringing in funds or bringing in clients to the company, but like raising awareness to like normal people like Jake and I. We're not really.
You guys are very, very normal.
Abnormal.
Well, Jake golfs. That's normal.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
Once you get older, you got to start.
Yeah, you gotta slow down and start golfing.
Stop dunking and start golfing.
I think I
might have been dunked on by Jake and
Jake Huber's
We
story.
met on the basketball court, and now we play golf.
Yeah. He used to be able to dunk. I don't even know if he could touch the net anymore. He's got bad knees.
Still
Probably
dunk.
not.
I can still dunk.
No, you can't.
We're gonna hit a Priory. We're gonna hit a Priory.
Give me 3 months.
No, that doesn't count.
3 weeks.
No,
3 weeks.
3 hours. You can warm up for 3 hours.
All right, let's go out to this.
Cut to the basketball
out in the
court.
back.
He's got a
parking lot. Who's got a ball?
It's hilarious.
In all seriousness, it does a lot of good to create all that content, because then it's informing us, people like Jake and I, about your clients and about like the realities that they were raised in or grew up in, like how they came to be where they are now. It's not just all happening behind closed doors. Like, you're letting us know about what's going on there, and hopefully that will improve things.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
Absolutely. Our clients want to share this information. As I mentioned before, they come to us, they sign releases and say, hey, I want to make sure that I'm giving back to the St. Patrick's Center, because you guys gave me so much. So they share this information about their struggles, about their, successes, getting through those struggles, so that they can help other people grow. So we want to share that with our supporters in case they're going through that same situation, but more so that they understand what they're supporting, what they're donating to, and even the people that just like our posts on social media. What that's doing is it's boosting our visibility for other people to be able to see that. Your friends are seeing that you're liking these posts on Facebook or whatever, or especially LinkedIn. Like when you're liking a post on LinkedIn, everybody's going to see it the way LinkedIn works. And so our goal is to be able to grow that community on social media so that more people learn about what St. Patrick's Center is doing, and hopefully more people support and more people will eventually start donating money, because, we're always going to need, new donors. And that's coming from like my, development background. We're always going to have to replenish the donor base as people get older. And right now we're struggling a little bit when it comes to donations, and with the, financial situation in our country right now, it's been a little bit harder, but we're doing our best. And so I feel like personally, I need to start stepping up more whenever it comes to marketing and asking for money. Because one thing that as a nonprofit marketer that I don't do is I don't ask for money a lot on social media. You know what I mean? I don't ask for donations a lot. My own metric is like 10% ask and 90% educate and entertain. So, but when the holiday season starts to roll around and we have a little bit higher need, I start to ask a little bit more, and we're starting to see donations roll in. And that's not just because of me. We have a great team, like I said, on the philanthropy team.
Sure.
But I feel like, at certain times when we need the money, we're going to ask for it. We're going to be very blunt about it. I just posted something. I don't know if you can put this up there, but I just posted a meme of, it was the meme of like the superhero, and he has a choice to make between which button to click. And the one button said Taylor Swift tickets, and the other button said helping my unhoused neighbor. And the guys, and so this one is taken off. I mean,
that's an easy choice.
Yeah, that's
oh man, maybe for you guys.
T Swift.
So this is a funny story, and so I'm gonna go back to my lovely associate Brenna. She was one of those people waiting online for tickets. And so whenever I created this meme, the first thing I did was I texted Brenna and I sent it to her and I said, hey, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just going to post this for engagement. Like, I do not want to offend you. And she's like, no, this is hilarious. Do not worry about me. And, because I love to think about, how people are going to react and their feelings. And I didn't want to offend her, but I thought it was super relevant to the situation that's going on right now, especially with what we're dealing with, that this would be a great way to garner some attention.
As a nonprofit marketer, you mentioned like you don't really directly ask people for money.
Yeah.
But like that's the point, right?
Oh yeah.
Generally. But like, do you feel like I don't know, what's the success rate of like just asking people for money versus like doing it in a more sort of roundabout way?
Yeah. So it's a great question. And the success rate depends on how often you're just directly asking for money.
Sure.
Right? So my focus is to build brand. I'm trying to build a brand at St. Patrick's Center. I'm trying to build visibility in our community of what our logo looks like. Like, we'll never be the Nike where, we could just put our shamrock and everybody knows who we are, right?
Oh, maybe someday. Thanks to this podcast right here.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right.
A billion people
We're gonna put you on.
Put the shamrock up there. A billion people are going to know.
It's going to be right here.
It's going to be ingrained.
Blam.
Yeah.
But, but we want to do our best to where people, when they drive down Tucker and they see our building, they know what we do. You know what I mean? So whenever I do ask in that 10%, we get a really good response, whether that's to volunteer. I may not ask for money, but I may ask for an outpour of volunteers. Maybe we're slow on volunteers, or we have a big event that we need volunteers for, or maybe it's our Irish party that happens in the spring where we have a huge Irish party and, we're trying to get folks to sign up for something like that. That's an easier ask, especially for some of our followers. But whenever I'm only asking 10%, I'm not alienating, people that don't want to get pounded with ask. People don't want to be hounded by donate, volunteer.
Yeah.
I want to educate, as I mentioned. I want to educate. I want to engage. So it's crazy because a lot of our media professionals, they'll be like, oh, that was you that was liking my post, or, that was liking my story or whatever. Like, I just always imagine people think that I'm like this white woman on the other side of St. Patrick's Center's social media page. So, I use like the yellow emoji, I don't use like
keep it a little ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's me. And so, so it's just one of those things. Like, whenever, if we need something, in the holiday seasons, I'll ask. And we have a good response rate. There are organizations, if you follow them, whenever they post, which may be like once a month, they're asking for something. You know what I mean? So
right.
It's the same thing with my email platform. I know this is a little bit different, but it's huge for marketing, is emails. Whenever I send out an email, I don't, it's not like a sales email, like 20% off, if you donate today. I don't do that. I have a blog. I post a lot of blogs about our clients and how they're doing, updates on the St. Patrick's Center, or whether that's staff or programs. I just like to educate.
Well, that's good. You're thinking long term,
yeah,
because sales is short term, and you're trying to build a brand. So you're trying to put the awareness and the education, and there are a lot of people that are just going straight to sales. It's like, I need to get the donations today and tomorrow, and it's like, well, what about next year?
Yeah,
we'll keep building, we'll get what we can now, and then we'll Yeah. So
The thing that causes me the most anxiety is whenever I go to our analytics, talking analytics again on our email, and I see people unsubscribe. I'm like, I just want to reach out to them personally and be like, come back. Because the longer we can keep those people on our email chain, the more invested they get. And then just one of those people turns out to be a billionaire one day, and they just give us,
you never know,
1 million. You never know. So I don't like to lose those.
You're going to lose some people, and you're going to gain some people. And as long as you're doing the right thing, I mean, you're hopefully gaining as you move forward, right? So
absolutely,
can't worry too much about those losses.
On a forward, upward track.
Absolutely.
As long as
there's no way to go through this life without taking losses. It's just impossible.
No, speak for yourself, Jake.
Oh, Bill, you're right.
I've never had a loss in my life.
We set this up. He came in. He sat down. He's
no loss.
We cut.
He picked the colors and everything, and that was it.
Yep. No. Never took an L in my whole life.
No, wow.
Never, ever. You've had a lot of jobs over the years. I checked your LinkedIn profile.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but yeah.
It's a great thing.
Okay, yeah.
It's a great thing. How did all that different variety of jobs, like how did that end up becoming marketing for you?
Yeah. So I've had like 5 jobs in 6 years. I kind of do a little bit of job hopping. I work for a company, AT&T third-party authorized retailer. They laid us all off. And so I got a transition coach, and my transition coach told me to control my future. And I've been doing that ever since.
Yeah.
And so I don't let a company dump me. I'll dump them first. No, I'm just kidding. So
you're not breaking up with me. I'm breaking up with you.
Exactly. So that's how I, control the narrative. But no, so, from sales to fundraising, going from sales to nonprofit fundraising has really given me an opportunity to be, in that customer facing side of business, whether that's nonprofit or corporate. And so I went to school for communications and, wanted to be in marketing. That's what I wanted to do. But, coming out of college and going right into sales, I never thought that I would ever have the opportunity. I'm like, I never did that internship, that marketers do. I'm never going to have the opportunity to work for Nike or whatever. So I kind of just settled for sales. And then obviously, like I said, from sales, it's very similar to fundraising. And then a lot of people don't know this, but Jake, you probably know this. I was actually let go before the pandemic by Washington University. I was fired. And yeah, that was it's still kind of traumatic a little bit.
I don't think I knew that.
Oh, geez.
And so yeah, WashU let me go.
Learning moment.
Definitely a learning experience. And the crazy thing was the timing was impeccable. We were selling our house, so we no longer had a mortgage because we were building one. Moved into my in-laws' house right before the pandemic. So now I'm living with my in-laws, no mortgage. And I was getting like that extra $600 unemployment. So it couldn't have happened at a better time. So I'm like, okay, I have time to just relax. My wife is still working full time. What am I going to do? And from there,
I say just watch TV.
Oh, and that's what I did a lot of that.
Oh,
a lot of watch TV and yoga. Yeah, a lot of that.
Awesome.
So it was the pandemic. What else are you guys supposed to do? So I reached out to a connection that I had because I saw a post for a job, a marketing position. And I ended up getting it. And from there, I've been, doing marketing. That was 2020. So working for the Covering House, doing community engagement, which is marketing and events. And then from there, jumped on at St. Patrick's Center in 2021 and haven't looked back since.
So at that time, were you specifically looking for nonprofit marketing jobs, or were you just looking for like any marketing job?
I was looking for anything. Honestly, like during the pandemic, I actually took 2 jobs and ended up not starting just because So I always told myself I would never get out of the nonprofit space. And both the jobs that I had, one of them was, this was whenever they were like, oh, the pandemic's going to end soon. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I got a job doing sales for restaurants, restaurant sales, doing something. And so the pandemic didn't end, and I'm like, okay, this isn't going to work out. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to leave nonprofit space, and seeing that marketing position and knowing that that's what I've always wanted to do, and I had a connection, because a lot of times it's about who you know. I had the connection to get into a marketing position without having to go through an internship and make pretty decent money doing it. I was like, okay. So it worked out perfect. And like I said, I ended up getting the job, and I've been in marketing ever since. And I say I will never get out of nonprofit marketing. So,
but you've started your own company.
Right? So he's still in.
Kevin.
I did. But I'm still in nonprofit marketing.
Okay.
And I work with nonprofits.
There you go.
Yeah, I started my own company, Without Walls Marketing, And the basis behind starting my own company was to do more of what I'm already doing. So do more of nonprofit marketing and help other groups, organizations do what I'm doing. To show them through consulting, show them how to do the kind of marketing that I'm doing. And so there's a couple of groups that I work with. And then through that, I actually work with a Grammy nominated artist as well. So I guess that's not corporate. It's not really nonprofit, but it's awesome. It's fun. I'm creating great content.
Yeah.
I get to go to concerts and listen to an amazing artist, sing for free. And I'm just doing more of what I love.
Excellent. Well, I'm happy for you, man.
Thank you.
Great.
I appreciate it. That was sentimental. That was kind of touching.
Yeah, it's good. Let's see. All right. So recently you spoke at an event called The Rise of Diverse Content Creators.
Ooh, I went to this event.
Yeah.
How was your first event?
So yes, a little bit of backstory. I started my company in July and I announced it in September. And I really didn't want to announce that I had a company. I had no intentions of bringing on clients. But I had this idea to do this diversity of content creators panel. So I was like, I want to back it with my own company. I want to fund it and have that be my brand. Yeah. And so that's why I announced my company in September, because I wanted people to know about what I was doing before I announced this event. So
gotcha. So for anybody listening and not watching, Kevin is a black man. Jake and I are both white dudes. Coming up in this industry, and you could tell us as much as you want or as little as you want. Yeah. How is it different for you coming up in this industry versus some regular old white dude like me?
Yeah. So just nonprofit marketing in general, I feel like I'm a unicorn. I am a man in nonprofit marketing, which is very rare. And I am a black man in nonprofit marketing, which makes me a unicorn. So, right. So it's crazy to think. Yeah, it's crazy to think about that I'm in this space, and if I get into a room with a bunch of people, it's going to be white women. So I say that, but I also want to say this: my aunt Shantae is the CMO at United Way. Oh. So the largest nonprofit organization in St. Louis, she is running the marketing department. I think that's so powerful and so awesome. So shout out to my aunt Shantae. She's amazing. And she's been such a mentor for me throughout these last couple of years. Oh, yeah. Coming into marketing and everything. But as far as, diversity, I am, one of very few black men in nonprofit marketing. But then whenever we look at the larger scale of what marketing is, which is also content creation, the videographers, photographers, graphic designers, and such, I started learning, I was always finding that I was working with white individuals, whether white males or white females.
Which quite frankly is typical in our industry.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally is.
It really is.
It really is. And so then I started working with a white female, Sarah Shelton. Shout out Sarah Shelton. She's a great marketer and she has an amazing mind. And when I talk about reimagining nonprofit communication, she did it at Rung and some other organizations, and she's amazing. But I met her.
Rung.
Yeah, Rung for Women.
Really cool.
And so she started all of that marketing and campaign. So if you see the branding, she started all that. So anyway, I met with her, and she was also focused on working with diverse creators, photographers, videographers, and she's the one who introduced me to some photographers and started introducing me to people like Cami Thomas and things like that. So that kind of sparked this thing in me, we need to start diversifying content creators. And so the first person that I hired actually when I was working at St. Patrick's Center was a black photographer to come and do drone video of St. Patrick's Center. And then just working here and there with other people. And so one thing that kind of hamstrings nonprofit professionals is budget, like I mentioned before. And so whenever you find somebody that's willing to do a project for you for what fits in your budget, a lot of times you keep that person, in your repertoire, and you keep going back to the same creators. Yeah. The same videographer does all of your videos. The same photographer comes and shoots all your events. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily that marketers aren't looking for other or aren't trying to diversify. They just don't need another photographer or videographer. They have something that already works. You really build relationships with the people you work with, and you don't look outside. And now, so as black and brown creators start to make their way I called it breaking barriers, the rise of diverse creators. As they start to rise up in the ranks, now you have to essentially go out of your way to start working with these, which I personally feel is worth it. I've hired several Black photographers. I would love to work with Black videographers, graphic designers, copywriters, even people that are transcribing our podcast. I work with several, diverse copywriters. And so with my company, that is actually my biggest goal, is to work with a majority of underrepresented creators. And I just feel like they're out there and they just need the opportunity to present their work. And of course there's social media and people can show you what they can do on social media, but it's another thing to be able to have a paid gig, where you're making whatever, $100 an hour or whatever you charge, and being able to showcase your work on a larger platform where we're putting up billboards. Like, I have a billboard with one of Jake's photos. If that was a photo done by, it would be great if that was a photo done by a Black photographer.
Are you aware of this, Jake?
I think that was last year, right?
That was last year.
I never saw. There was 2 of them, right?
There was 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never really saw.
And did you guys know Jake was
them,
he's a killer photographer?
No.
You are a good photographer.
He's a really good photographer.
I
Maybe not as good as
I saw one of your photos once.
Maybe not as good as his brother, but he's a really
I got Adam into photography.
now he wants to claim it. He didn't want to claim it.
That doesn't mean I'm better than him.
So I wouldn't say that I'm better than Adam, but I did teach him how to do it.
I showed him everything.
Yeah.
So it'd just be cool, like with the, what was it, the awards show that they had, the what's that award show for all the
There's a lot of award shows.
The like Academy Awards.
Yeah. Oh, the Emmys.
Yeah,
Emmys. So like the Midwest Emmys.
The Midwest Emmys.
The Midwest Emmys. How cool would it have been if there would have been, a ton of great Black videographers, photographers that would have won an award? And it's so funny because there was a video that won an award, and it was a group out of Springfield, I believe, and they did a video on the Negro Leagues, and it was an all-white group that did the video on the Negro Leagues.
Yeah, that's kind of a bad look.
And so the video must have been really cool, right? But
I'm sure it was a good video, but
I didn't see one person in their group that was Black. And so I've had conversations with Jake about this, and so seeing it from his lens has really opened my eyes. And I'm just getting into what they call DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I just started really diving in to this year. And so I have a lot to learn, but my biggest thing is I want to see it from both sides. You know what I mean? I know that there are a lot of people who want to just do freelance, that don't want to work with other people. They want to do everything on their own. And a lot of the Black creators that I work with, they're more focused on building their own brand as opposed to working with other folks, working with people who already have established brands. So, that's their prerogative. But at the same time, I'm going to do what I can do to help give diverse creators an opportunity. Yeah. And so I just feel like if it's a focus in general, we all do what we can, it's going to happen, but then it has to be both ways. You know what I mean? As a diverse creator, you have to be willing to do some things that maybe you didn't want to do initially to start to get your name out there and start to build your brand. Not trying to compromise yourself, but at the same time, there has to be some give and take. Yeah.
I think it was really good to hear it. And for instance, like Cami, who we'll have on this podcast at one point, I've been following her for a while. We've known each other, but we've never actually met. So you brought, even just having the conversation, it brings people together. So that's really cool. And
that was my goal. My goal was to bring marketers and content creators into the same room so that, you start to make those connections. And now it's like, oh, wow, I do need a graphic designer. And I met this, this Black man, or I met this, Asian woman at this event. Let me reach out to her because I know she does great UX design or whatever the services that you need are. And so with my company, I'm trying to create a collective and kind of like an inventory of all of these creators so that if somebody comes to me, the people that I'm giving you to do a project, they're going to be from a diverse population, which,
I think it's a sort of difficult line to walk between like finding somebody who's like going to be really good at performing this task or like pulling off this job, and also finding somebody who has a more diverse background. I know we say the word diverse a lot, but a different perspective on life, a different experience. Having that brings different skills and different ideas and different, feelings like into whatever job or task you're trying to do. And like, as somebody who's hiring people, like Jake and I do that too, and you do that too, for certain projects. Like it's this sort of middle lane that you're talking about where like, a content creator may want to do everything on their own and do it their own way, but they may never find success because they're not willing to go into the middle lane and sort of meet people halfway in the industry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like on the other end, you got to be able to hire people who have different perspectives and different experiences than yourself, so you can reach other audiences. And so I think as a marketer of any sort, like finding that middle path where like everybody can come together in the same carpool is difficult.
Yeah.
We all have different backgrounds. We all have different views. And I think that's a good thing. And I talked to somebody recently about how that is actually good for especially the creative. Like it brings different ideas. Yeah. So it seems like we all have to be more willing to be like, let's figure out a way to all collaborate. I mean, not everybody can collaborate on everything, but I'm saying like just opening up the opportunity to being collaborative in certain areas.
Yeah. And Bill, you mentioned, the difference between like a corporate stakeholder who is, squeezing you to do things in a marketing realm a certain way, or we need to see our return on investment, as opposed to like being in my space where I have a little bit more freedom to take chances, or to go outside the box with a creator, as opposed to like working with a big, agency. I can go with freelancers. I have a little bit more of that freedom. So yeah. And so whenever we look at the DEI experience, we see a lot more focus in nonprofit sector. And I'll talk to people all the time that'll say in the corporate world, and it blows my mind. And like I said, I just recently learned about DEI a couple of years ago, but I'll talk to someone in the corporate world that has no idea what DEI even means. And I'm like, hold on. You still in 2022 do not know what diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are. And they'll have no idea. And so I'll talk to some, a woman that I know that's in marketing, and she'll be like, I work for the most misogynistic company, and there are no, DEI or HR regulations that will keep men from being, ridiculous. And it's crazy to think that there are still a large portion of corporate America and probably nonprofit as well, but corporate America that still does not buy into diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility.
Or worse, fake it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because there's probably that too.
Yep.
Yeah. You know who that reminds me of is, was it Abercrombie and Fitch? They hired the DEI executive just to come and make a couple $100,000 and not do anything.
Yeah. Make them look good.
Yeah. Just to make them
they were doing
look good
something
on the website or something.
It's like, hey, we gotta put on a face for almost a PR stunt.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, we have our DEI guys right back. Oh, we hired him, so everything's fine now.
Everything's fine. And then they go and continue to do the same,
the same BS over and over.
Same practices.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and that like fake it. A lot of companies will just fake it. But there are so many amazing companies in St. Louis that are leading the charge nationally, globally. Worldwide Technology, Square, like MasterCard, all these companies, Enterprise, all these companies that are based out of St. Louis. That especially being in the Midwest, like. It's a big issue, race and things like that are a big issue in St. Louis and Missouri. But like these companies are just doing an amazing job. And it's cool working at St. Patrick's Center because we partner with a lot of those companies. And just it makes me feel good to know that we're working with companies that have such a focus on that because I am passionate about it. So yeah, I think that there is a lot of growth that needs to happen, but I'm just so excited to see that there's a lot of progress that's been made.
The last thing, did you have something you want to say?
What were you going to say?
I wanted to touch on the personal brand and how important that is because there could be a lot of people out there that you don't know exist because they don't take the time to really put their work out there and really showcase who they are. And then again, we talked about this earlier before the podcast, like connecting with people, reaching out to people. Like we all have to do a better job of that. It's hard sometimes because you don't want to bother people, but at the same time, it's like, how else are you going to make connections and network? And then once you get in there or you get on a film set, when we started as PAs, when you get a PA job and you go on a set of 25 industry professionals, that's where you meet people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like pushing yourself out there and getting in there. And then
can't be shy.
and then on the other side, it has to be open to the opportunity of like, yeah, we want more people, especially more diversity. And we don't want to have just a completely white set
Yeah. Yeah.
for a DEI video.
Yeah. For a video on the Kansas City Monarchs, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. What I was going to say is tying into that, like personal brand, like in your professional journey, like what piece of advice would you have for people, especially those who are not white like us, coming up in the industry? Like what little bit of advice would you have for them to sort of find some amount of success?
You know what? I think the biggest thing that I've been able to do, and I'm just talking from personal experience here, is like connecting and being vulnerable, with those connections. So like, and maybe it's easier for me than other people just because I do come from a sales development background where I'm used to introducing myself to people, sending out hundreds of emails saying, hey, can you meet for coffee, so on and so forth. But
and you love doing that.
And I used to love it. And, I was flying
You still do. You meet with people all the time.
I meet people all the time.
It's your personality. That's a good thing.
And so I spend a lot of money on coffee. But it actually at St. Patrick's Center, it's cool. I have a budget for networking. They promote that. And they want me to grow. They want me to grow and network. And so, doing things like this and being able to talk about St. Patrick's Center is a benefit to them, right? And so, I'm actually going to write off all the beers. Don't worry about it.
Bill already bought them.
I'll pay you back for them.
The receipt's already to my
Should have
account.
let him bring the beers.
Oh yeah.
Next time.
That's right. On this show,
All
we
right.
have the guests bring the drinks.
We'll just have Kevin on
Insert
the
the
next 7
audio.
episodes.
Yes. Thank you, Kevin.
So when it comes to personal branding, I'm really big into connecting and meeting with folks. I'm really big into sending an invite on LinkedIn saying, hey, would you like to meet virtually? Or would you like to grab a coffee? And, I want to know more about, what you're doing in the marketing space. I meet with a lot of marketers. What are you doing in the marketing space to be successful? And so, through those connections, I'm able to, build partnerships, whether that's at St. Patrick's Center or whether that's just with my own personal brand. Because eventually it's gonna, like I said before, it's all about who you know. Eventually I may need to lean on a friend or a connection that I've recently made. And it's funny because I just helped plan an event, and there were folks that would come up to me saying, hey, we connected, on LinkedIn, so on and so forth. And I'm like, I connect with so many people on LinkedIn that I feel so bad that I forget who this person is.
So it's about connecting on LinkedIn and then sharing content.
And then sharing
everything
content.
we talk about, because you've been doing that as a personal brand, not just for St. Patrick's Center. And what I've found that does is it lets people know, especially if you're authentic with it and you like care about what you're doing. This is who I am. I'm Kevin Lashley. This is what I do. And now it's like, oh, we need a marketer or whatever. It's like, I know this guy.
Yeah.
From
Like a year ago, Jake challenged me to post more on LinkedIn, and that's what I've been doing. And I try to post every day, on LinkedIn 5 or 6 times a week. And so that's one way, as the organic reach. I have a lot of people that will, follow and make connections. I just spoke at a panel based off of a friend of a friend, a second connection. And they reached out to me just seeing, that I was posting and that I was on a panel before. And they were like, hey, do you want to come speak on this panel? And so it's just about building those connections and creating that tree, or those vines of connections or whatever you want to call it. And branches of connections. And it's pretty cool. Like I've met a lot of great people, and some people would be like, you're the most connected person I know. And I'm like, I feel like I'm really connected, but at the same time, I feel like there's so much more connecting that I need to do.
Sure.
I feel like I'm never connecting enough. I'm never doing enough. But LinkedIn has been the biggest platform for me to do that. And so, I definitely would suggest to anybody that's looking to get out there a little bit more, just start posting more on LinkedIn because of that organic reach. Second connections, third connections, people are going to see what you're sharing. And if it's relevant, I always say try to be like an industry leader, share your expertise, or just share your experiences. I love sharing projects that I'm on, a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people like to see because I'm in marketing, so that fits, with my industry. But find your niche, find your industry, and see what other people are sharing, and just kind of follow that a little bit until you can start to create your own lane. But yeah, I've really enjoyed being on LinkedIn and just seeing what my colleagues are doing, seeing what my peers are doing in the marketing space and in the nonprofit space in general. And yeah, I've been able to utilize those connections quite a bit the last year and a half, and yeah, I hope to continue to do that.
I like that you said vulnerability, because Dave talked about that in episode 4, the last episode, how a lot of people are scared and they're like afraid to share something or share who they are and put themselves out there. And getting past that can open up a world for you, not just on LinkedIn, but just in general, in your day-to-day conversations and how you treat your life. And I think when you listen to his episode, it's like, how he took it from where he did to what he was accomplished was just pushing through anything that he might have been scared to do. Yeah. And that made him great as a photographer. So
this is one of my philosophies is like, people don't generally just find you. You know what I mean? So what I mean by that is like,
it's so hard to get discovered.
Yeah. You just don't get discovered. So like whenever you see people like have thousands of, followers on social media, you start to wonder, how do they get those followers? So like, there's a couple ways. Maybe they had a viral reel or viral post, or maybe they bought their followers. If we have a couple thousand followers on social media, it's because I am actually out there engaging with people to where they notice my account. They'll notice St. Patrick Center's account, like, okay, who's this person that liked on me? Let me go to their profile. And now they're starting to investigate. So that's how we got a lot of our followers. Now, taking that back to the personal side of things, I actually seek people out. I will type in to the search bar marketing or marketing professionals. I'll click on people and I will just see what marketing professionals are in.
You're not even looking for companies?
I'm not even looking for companies.
I just in the country.
People. Just in St. Louis, mostly.
You highlight St. Louis.
I just highlight St. Louis. Yeah, you can drill down to all those
That's the cool
fields.
thing about LinkedIn is you can find
it's so nice.
all the people in your industry, all your peers that you can connect with and be like, now I know all these people and I have all these connections. That's
There's
great.
a nonprofit management little drop down or filter. And so I can see people that are in my field. And one reason that I want to follow these people is because they're doing such great, marketing that I want to start implementing some of that into my own, workflow or my own strategies. And I feel like if they're out there doing this, there's all these people that are working at these big companies that maybe even like they're sponsored by LinkedIn or they have like the LinkedIn blue mark or whatever. Like those are people that you should be following because they're industry leaders. So I proactively go out and follow people in my industry because I want to make sure that I'm not missing out on any cool trends or any cool pivots that the industry is making, and just seeing what other people are doing and connecting. So
maybe you're doing something that they're liking, and maybe that down the road is good for you as well.
Yeah. So this is cool too, because I just got some outreach from Joy FM. And it is so hard to get a partnership with Joy FM. I feel like I've been trying to get partnerships with Joy FM, and they actually just reached out to me. And so they've seen, we see that you do a lot of cool things at St. Patrick Center, and we feel like that would be a great partnership. So like that was completely out of nowhere. But if I wasn't engaged in social media, there's no way that anybody would have been able to find me on LinkedIn. There's no way that connection would have been made. You know what I mean? So I contribute a lot of that to that high engagement.
And that's brand. You've been doing it all year. And what is that going to mean next year? What is that going to mean 3 years down? If you keep staying with it and you keep connecting with people, it just builds your network, and networking and who you know is what's going to get you out there and connected and open to new work and new opportunities. Yeah. Right.
Kevin, what's coming down the pipe for you? What do you got going on?
Yeah. You know what? We've got a couple, fun projects we're working on. Just working with Brian Owens. We're dropping a book here soon. Actually, I don't know if I mentioned him by name earlier, but yeah, Brian Owens. Working with Brian Owens to drop a book soon. We're also going to be working on a documentary with Brian. But as far as
for those who don't know, who's Brian Owens? Yeah,
Brian Owens is a Grammy-nominated music artist here locally in St. Louis, soul singer, an amazing talent, and has been, on the scene for quite a while. He's got a group called Life Creative STL, where he works with young musicians, producers, and all other content creators. But an amazing dude, and it's been fun working with him. So we got a lot of cool projects coming up. But as far as Without Walls marketing, I've got a pretty cool concept for a marketing conference that I'm calling Breaking Barriers, and I'm working with some folks right now to kind of get that off the ground. We're working on some initial funding for the conference, but we're hoping for it to be about a 300 to 500 person conference. I know that's a large number, but it just all depends on. It just all depends on.
If you have any money, come. Who am I looking? Right there. Forgot what camera I'm looking at.
No, absolutely. Yeah,
we're gonna put Kevin's Venmo up on the screen now. You just want to send a few bucks?
Well, it's going to take a little. It's going to take a little bit more than a few bucks, but yeah, we've got a pretty cool concept, and I've actually introduced the idea to Jake, and so we've got a little bit of some kinks to work out. I tell people that I've pitched this idea to. If I get initial funding, so my events are all free. The DEI events that I have for accessibility purposes, I make them all free. I fund them all, free food and drinks. I pay for the speakers, all honorariums. Yeah. So, I know it's not like thousands of dollars honorariums, but all my speakers get an honorarium. Like, I'm very passionate about that. And so I'm looking to do this digital marketing conference. And although it's not going to be free, it'll be much more affordable than these huge marketing conferences that people travel out of state for, and it'll have way better content. We're going to look to work with local marketers that are actually working in their field at MasterCard, at Square, these big companies that are doing marketing at a large scale. And so we're looking to really partner. And yeah, as I mentioned before, like once we get the initial funding, we'll be able to take this off, and the sky's the limit. It's going to be like a mini South by Southwest. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like that little film festival feel where there's vendors and there's more interaction and engagement.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, you have.
I have. Sorry.
So anyway, yeah. So that's what we've got coming down the pipe, and I'm just super excited about it. Like I said, my company, the biggest thing for me is throwing events and really bringing marketers together. Yeah. And I'm hoping to do that with this conference.
Cool. Yeah. So making connections and hopefully finding people some work. Yeah. Finding people some workers.
Some workers. So the conference will be for marketers and content creators. We're going to do. Yeah. The goal is to have art display, music. We're looking to have drones. It's just going to be. We're going to have a film competition, a shorts competition. So be able to submit a short and do a grant with that as well. So yeah, like I said, once we get that initial funding, it's just gonna take off. I think there's a lot of interest around it. But with the recession, we know that a lot of people are trying to keep that money in their pocket. So it'll be a stretch, but
there's people out there with pretty deep pockets.
Yeah. I'm sure my mom works. She's a vice president of a bank. I might just have to go knock down her door. So
there you go. Well, cool. I look forward to that. I hope it comes. I hope it happens for you, buddy.
Yeah, I'll send you. I'll send you an invoice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please. Thank you. Right. Nothing that a DEI conference needs more than another white guy.
Well, this isn't going to be a DEI. This will be just an overall marketers conference. No DEI focus. Just getting all of the white women together for marketing purposes. and
they'll all be there.
They'll all be there. We'll have Starbucks, and
that's what more do you need?
Yeah.
Starbucks.
That's how you'll get them there.
Yeah. Honestly, that sounds great. I'll be there.
You said I'll be there for the Starbucks.
I'll be there too. Yeah,
Starbucks.
That sounds wonderful. Kevin Lashley, thank you so much for coming on the Pre-Pro podcast, sharing your experience with nonprofit marketing, your history as a marketer, and just your experiences. So thank you very much. I know. Jake also is very thankful, aren't you?
Yeah.
Jake?
When you get that $100,000 budget, no, I'm just kidding.
You know where to go.
Yeah. Oh, Jake, I've been coming to you with every project. So whenever it fits, you let me know.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to shoot a killer movie trailer for
how about you check with your accountant and see how much tax write-off you need, and then we can see how big of a
good point.
Yeah, he told me never to do a tax write-off for the tax write-off. So he's not going to like that. It's like, don't buy that equipment just for the tax write-off. Buy the equipment because you need the equipment.
Don't listen to this guy.
You need a new tax accountant.
Kevin, don't listen to Jake.
You need a new tax
We're going to make this happen. Yes. Okay.
I need 50% at least.
Bill will do it.
Sure. Okay. I'll do it. All right. Kevin, thank you. This has been the Pre-Pro podcast. sponsored by Splice House, hosted by Bill Parmentier of Old Storm Studios. We'll see you next time.